And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. This gentleman doesn't know it, but he's on the screen with me, and he is, and the team together is, because I know he won't let me just give it to him. They are my top dogs of this week, proudly presented by Canine Camp Dog Daycare. The Navy Midshipmen 6-0 halfway through the season and undefeated. They are the top dogs of the week, celebrating them. And you know I released my top 25 up against the AP and the coaches poll, and Navy's in mine because they should be in theirs. So with that being said, Brian, how are you?
Doing great. I appreciate you having me in the top 25 in your poll, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it should be the case. So bring me into the first half of the season here at 6-0 and getting an opportunity to also have a bye week recently here. Just what your takeaways have been from the 6-0 start. 6-0 start.
Yeah. Well, there's some good and some bad. I guess you're talked to the team yesterday just about a year ago we were 6-0 at the same point in the season. But it's a very different feel now than it was a year ago. I think last year. We were just tickled to be winning games, right? So we hadn't tasted that in a while around here to that extent. And so I think, human nature, you get a little fat and happy about it and get intoxicated by it a little bit. Like at this point last year, we were a top 25 team going into a game with Notre Dame. This is a very different 6-0 team, right? It's a humble 6-0 group, right? And I think we're fortunate to be 6-0. We've got ourselves in some bad situations and managed to find a way to win some tight games. And really, at this point, it's more about what our internal expectations are in regards to how we play. It's not just about winning; it's how you win. Are you playing to your standard? Are you playing to your internal expectations of who you can be? Are you playing at your best? And I don't think we've scratched that surface yet. So the bye week came at a good time. We're kind of into the final and kind of third phase of our season in the way that I talk to our players, and obviously the most critical phase. And we're going to have to play much better moving forward to sustain the success that we've been able to have at this point in the season. I told them during the bye week that we're probably a middle to upper pack of the American right now, the way that we're playing. So there's a lot of things we've got to get better at, and we got a lot of new starters on the defense side of football, and that's, to me, the side of the ball that really haven't lived up to my expectations. And we're 7 games into the season now, and you can't use that youth as an excuse anymore. And so thought we had a really good bye week. Thought we had a good week of preparation this week, and our guys know we're going to play much better to sustain this momentum moving forward.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, a humble group that is not just happy to be at the party, so to speak, to be 6-0 at this point. You talked about close games, gutting it out, but needing to do better. And when we look at these games, defeating Rice 21-13, a one-possession game, Air Force 34-31, a field goal game, and at Temple 32-31. What were those takeaways from those close games on how the team gutted it out, how they dug deep and got through it? What did you see in those moments of, hey, this could go either way, and we took it back or we held on to it?
Yeah, and that's one of the positive things I see in this football team is, had we dug ourselves a hole like we did in the Tulsa game, turned the ball over first three possessions, got down 14-0. Had we dug ourselves a hole like we did against Temple, being down 17-7 at the half and playing about as poorly as we could, I don't know that we would have found a way out of that a year ago. I don't know that belief was there, but I've been really pleased with our ability to overcome some adversity. A lot of it self-inflicted, which happens, but we've got tough kids, we've got resilient kids, and the difference, I think, in this team and last year's team is the expectation to win, the belief that they're going to win, and that they're going to find a way to win. I think that all goes back to the process and the work that they put in. I said this to you before. I think we talk a lot about deserving success. It doesn't always mean that you get it, but that allows you to go out and play with the confidence that you need to play with, feeling like you deserve it, and being able to go out and cut it loose. And but at the end of the day, it comes down. Our kids play really, really hard, and if you've watched us, we play hard. We've got to execute at a much higher level than we have, and that's got to be an edge for us. It should be here at the Naval Academy. And so, if we can match the way that we prepare with the way that we execute on Saturdays, we'll have a really good football team.
Yeah, and looking at kind of what is to come and whatnot, there's two teams left on the schedule, and I know you go game by game, but looking at the fact that South Florida and Memphis are both on this schedule, and Memphis was the first team to be 6-0 in the country, first team to be bowl eligible, and South Florida started off the season playing 3 top 25 teams and beating 2 of them. What can you say about the strength of the American this season?
Yeah, and you didn't mention North Texas. He's
Right.
got a big football team
Yeah.
as well. And you look at, I mean, this Florida Atlantic team is a good football team. They're a dangerous football team, and they've gotten better every week. And I think their head coach probably saying some of the same things that I'm saying about just the execution piece. When that starts to click for them, they're going to be really good. And so you look at the schedule, and including this week in November gets really, really tough. And so we're going to have to play our best football. And we've said that all year long.
Yeah.
We talked about in the all season, November's for the real ones. And that's when you need to be playing your best football. I talked to our team yesterday about it's all coming together. All the hard work is about to pay off in dividends. You just got to keep staying the course, keep putting in the work. And they have. And the way that they show up on a daily basis, it's important to them. They work their tails off. These guys care about each other. They're an unselfish group. And so it's my hope they can all come together in all 3 phases, and when you start to play an entire game that's clean and complementary, in all 3 phases.
You spoke about 2 words, preparation and execution. They both have to do with you letting go at a certain point and the team having personal responsibility and collectively working together. So what have you seen from them in their preparation, in when you ask something to be done, when the staff asks for something to be done that is away from practice, and then in execution when they're on the field? And yeah, you can call certain things and ask for certain things, but at the end of the day, we're talking about a personal responsibility to do this, and then collectively everybody being responsible and working together on it. So preparation and execution, how has it grown? What have you seen in those moments where you have to let go and let them?
I think one of the things about being here at the academy is the lack of free time. Anywhere else in the country, your players in your building off and on throughout the entire day, and so a lot of film study on their own or in small groups. Here we don't have the luxury, we don't have that time. So these guys have to, when they're in our building and we're in meetings and we're at the practice field, these guys prepare as well as any group I've ever been around. The key is, all right, can you find time during your busy day here at the academy to take 30 minutes or an hour to do that stuff on your own? And I think our guys do a good job of that. I really do. They juggle a lot. We don't have them for as much time as most people do, and we do a lot, on both sides of the football. So we put a lot on these guys, and I think there's a fine line on putting too much on them. That's a line that we've been walking, the last several weeks. Took a hard look at ourselves as a staff, over the bye week, and are we doing too much? How much can we ask these guys to do and do really well?
Yeah.
And do it with confidence. So these guys can go out and play fast, without fear of failure, with confidence and poise. I think the thing we talked to them a lot about is trust. Trusting your teammates. I think what happens here, a lot of guys want to do so well. They want to win so bad that they try to do something outside of themselves. They try to do somebody else's job. Not sure if they're going to be in the right spot. So that's what we've got to do a better job of is doing our 111th as well as we can do it, and trusting that the other 10 guys are going to do theirs. And if we do that, we've got a really good football team. But that's kind of where we're at this point. I heard somebody talk about it. I can't remember the coach. And it makes so much sense. The capability gap, right, for us, and what our potential is and where we're at. And that biggest gap for us is that execution part of things, and that trust piece. And these guys love each other. I think they trust each other. But when you get out on the field and live bullets are flying, and that's when you got to lean in on that ability to trust your teammates. And so we got to do a better job with that, and we got to help them as coaches too.
Well, and you mentioned new faces on the defensive side of the ball. what have you seen from those new faces that have had to step it up? Who's come in, where the leadership has come from when you look to the defensive side, because you talked about complementary football, right? Offense got to help the defense, the special teams, the offense, cyclical and around, and special teams helping the defense as well, and so on and so forth. So what have you seen from some of those new faces on the defensive side?
So really good things. Obviously, there's no substitution for live reps,
Yeah.
game reps. And so, you're going to take your lumps, you're going to learn, you're going to grow. And that's what I want to see. We're going to make some mistakes. We're not going to play perfect, right? But do we learn from those mistakes and are we better, moving forward? And some guys have done that and some haven't. Had to make some personnel changes and had to move some guys around and make sure we're getting our best 11 on the field. Made some changes on both sides of the ball these past 2 weeks that I'm hopeful they're gonna pay off for us. And the Rents always do around here every day. But, it's my job to evaluate everything in this program, and it starts with me and the job I'm doing and our coaching staff. But we got to get our best guys on the field, the guys that are going out and doing exactly what we want them to do and in the way that we want them to do it. And we've got great young men in this program, and I've been pleased with a lot of the progress that we've been able to make.
And offensively, Blake Horvath, somebody that I got to speak with going into the season, and someone that obviously nationally has gotten some love from last season, and hopefully some continues this season as well. But looking at the fact of what he's done, 7 touchdowns passing, 8 touchdowns rushing, we've seen him gain 980 yards at this point through the air and 640 on the ground. From leadership of Blake Horvath, what has he shown you that maybe was another element, another piece that's continued to develop itself?
His ability to perform in high pressure situations. We talk about all the time. Be at your best when your best is needed. That's when the great players show up, and he's shown the ability and to do that over and over again in those critical clutch situations. And he did that last year as well. But he's really carried us, in a couple of these close games. And he's a guy that you want the ball in his hands when the game's on the line, like you saw against Temple. Scoring the long run, the touchdown, and then obviously the 2-point play. You've got some different options of plays that you can run there, but you want the ball in his hands when the game's on the line. But he's calm, cool, collected. He's got a lot of confidence in his ability, and he's been special this year. He was special last year, and I think he's gotten even better.
And I do want to show some love to somebody that we don't hear enough about, Nathan Kirkwood, your kicker. He has made every extra point he's attempted, and he's made all but 1 field goal this season. What have you seen from him in those situations, in those close games, when you need that leg to be obviously sending it through the uprights?
Yeah, the last 2 games, he's made 3 critical field goals for us, and the 48-yarder against Temple was big time. Really pleased with his progress. He's a much better player, much more reliable. I think he's got a lot more confidence at this point than he did a year ago, and we need him to have that, because we're going to have to rely on him. There's a good chance a lot of these games are going to be tight, 1 score, 1 possession type games moving forward, and so. My confidence in him is really high right now, and I think even more importantly, his confidence in himself is at a high level right now.
So just a final note for you, Coach, to look at your staff, and as you step forward with the second half of the season, just what you can say about being in that room, in the war room, so to speak, with these gentlemen, and what the staff has done and what you've seen that maybe has impressed you of working in the trenches in those moments that nobody sees.
We got a phenomenal staff. It's we've all got egos, but you wouldn't know it. Being in the staff room, being in the side of ball staff meeting room, these guys are able to put their egos aside, and it's all about these players. And it's all about it's not the best or it's not the whose idea it is. It's the best idea. And that's one thing that I would say the best thing I've done here is surround myself with great people. phenomenal football coaches, but great human beings that care about these players and invested in these players, and servant leaders, and just can't say enough good things about our staff. And we've had continuity here, it's really important. We didn't lose a single staff member nor support staff member in this last cycle. After a 10-win season, that's really unheard of, and I think that speaks to how strongly these guys feel about what a privilege it is to coach here at the Naval Academy, and especially young men in our program, and just how special this place is.
That coming from Brian Newberry, him and the Navy Midshipmen 6-0 in the first half of the season, and my top dogs of the week this week. Brian, as always, my friend, I appreciate your time, and I'll look forward to talking with you soon.
Great to see you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.